Hi guys. Hi John, Anissa. Good afternoon.
Hello, sir.
Yep. Can you hear me clearly, John?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So, yep, let's just wait for the others. Okay, let me see the chat box. So Anissa says hello. Connection is a bit spotty, so I might be popping in and out from my phone and or computer this evening. Yeah, no worries, Anissa. Uh, yeah, the topics for the first week, maybe for the first and a half week would be easy. So okay, let me see. Um, John, how's my volume?
It's okay on my end, sir. I can
Uh,
hear you clearly.
yeah, I think it's on you, Anissa. Probably your internet. So I was just saying that the topics for the first and a half weeks would be easy. So things would be well, a bit complicated after that. So okay. She says, okay, let me leave and come back. Okay, no worries. Hi, Grace. Welcome to the meeting. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are
That's good.
you?
Yeah, I'm. Well, again, I'm suffering from cough and I don't know. It's been going on uh pretty much often this year. I'm not sure if it's because of the weather, but I don't know. I got cough again.
Oh,
Yeah,
let me.
yeah, but I immediately got this medicine for flu, so hopefully it will not get any worse. Hi, Asiba. Welcome to the meeting. Asiba? Okay, I think Hasiba is still setting up her things. So, how was the lab yesterday? Was it good? Were you able to practice the basic syntax that we talked about the last time during lecture? Anyone? Okay, Hasiba says hello everyone. Okay. Yeah, so we'll be extending the discussion for today. So let me share my screen. I think we can start. I think Jeff would be catching up. Um, let me see. So let's have a quick recapitulation of the discussion last time and the topics that John discussed to you before we proceed to the lecture for today. So if you have any questions or clarifications, just let me know. Okay, slideshow from beginning. Okay, perfect. John, can you confirm if you can see my screen now? Okay, cheers. Okay, yep, let's do a quick recap. So we had an overview of Python, a quick history about it. We learned that it was developed by this man named Guido van Rossum or Guido van Rossum, depending on how you want to pronounce it. And I've introduced to you Google Colab, which is one of the most famous IDE or integrated development environment for Python. And you can also run different programming languages here, not only Python. The good thing with Google Colab is that it gives us this cloud computing facility, so you don't need to have your computer to be upgraded. You can also subscribe to the Pro if you need more computational power. And we talked about this print statement. So the print statement is an explicit output, okay? But with IDEs, if you want to see the output, you don't really need to use the print statement, right? So you can do the implicit printing, which is without the use of the print function. And then we discussed about the variables. So variables are just names that we associate to objects in Python. And um, I think I said the last meeting that everything in in Python is considered as an object. Okay, so it's similar um, with any object-oriented programming languages. And I think I left you with John at this point. Let me go through it with the data types. So there are three main data types in Python. There are numbers, strings, and booleans. So numbers, those things that we learned in SQL, we have the floating point numbers or floats, and we have the whole numbers or um, what we call as integers. And we have strings. So strings are characters. Okay. So there is this special type called Boolean in Python. So Booleans are logical, okay, logical data type in a sense that it only has two, um, it only has two, I should say, two outputs. It could be either a true or a false, okay. So Booleans would be very useful if we are creating this conditional statements or if we want to develop this recursive calculations. So we will be talking about booleans. I think in the middle of the session in Python. So there we would see how useful it is. But most of the time we will be working with numbers because yeah, in analytics typically you've been working more on numbers as compared to strings and booleans. And here I think you have discussed it with John that there will be integers and floating point numbers in our discussion, but we'll not be including complex numbers for the reason that it is rarely used in computation. Basically, complex numbers are numbers with a real part and an imaginary part. Okay, so it's a combination of that. And our focus in our Python sessions would be the integers and floating point numbers. So here, this is an example of integer. So there are no decimal places, as you can see. So here we are printing number 10. We are printing a negative integer. Okay, in order to assign negative, you'll just use the dash before the number. And here we're creating a variable named num, and we are associating this value to it, and we're printing it here. And here we assigned a negative integer to a number. So those are just very self-explanatory. And we have here floating point numbers. Any number that has a decimal part is considered a float or a floating point number. So the difference between the float and the integer, aside from having a decimal places, is it's being stored in a different way in the system. Okay. So here we are printing this 1 point with a long zero and five, a negative float, and we are assigning this value to this variable FLT underscore PT. Okay, and then we have the booleans. So booleans are again, you can only assume two values, true and false, or true or false. So in this case, we are assigning this variable my underscore bool equal to true. Okay. So, yep, we're printing it here. So as you can see, you should be careful with booleans because it is case sensitive. So the very first letter, the T or the F, should be capitalized, and the others should be lowercase. So if you try putting everything in capital letters, then it would give you an error. Okay, so that's something that you need to remember when working with Boolean variables. And then you had the supplementary practice. Okay. Do you have any questions with any of the things here before we transition to today's lecture? You can give me a thumbs up if everything's clear. Everything's clear? Okay. Hearing none, I assume that it is. So let's proceed to um, the next discussion. Let me just pull up the file. Where is it? Slideshow from beginning. Okay, can you still see the slides, guys? Python class 2. Okay, perfect. So what are today's plans? So we will be discussing the extension of our data types. This time we'll be focusing on strings. Then we'll be discussing arithmetic operators, which are almost similar to what we discussed in SQL. Then also comparison operators again, similar to our discussion with SQL. You can see how related they are, okay, working with SQL and Python. And we will be learning, lastly, how to convert data types. So, of course, there are some conversions that are not possible, such as converting a string into a number, but it's possible to convert, however, it's possible to convert a number to a string, just like what we did when we applied the regex in SQL. So we'll be discussing that. It's also possible to convert, say, a float into an integer into a float, those kinds of things. So we'll be discussing those on the latter portion of this lecture. So let's start with strings. Okay, so what are strings? So a string is a collection of characters closed within a single, double, or triple quotation mark. So I think I said before during the first lecture in Python that all of this, either you use single, double, or triple quotation marks, they're just the same, right? But I put here the last bullet like a guide in when to use a single, when to use a double or triple. Okay. So a string can also contain a single character or be entirely empty. So yeah, let's open our collab. I need to switch back and forth uh, between the collab and the slides. Let me see. Huh. Google Colab. So please open your collab and let's do it together. Okay. It's verifying if it's me. Who is this that? I'm not sure why. Okay, perfect. So let's move at the some part, and then let's talk about here strings. Okay, strings. Now, hmm. So I can create a string like having a space, right? So this is a perfectly a perfectly valid string. Um, as you may, but of course you don't want to have that in actual setup. But it's nice to know that under the hood this is also being recognized as a string. So that's what's being said in here. Okay, it could be entirely empty. It's perfectly fine. It could be a single character, like I can assign a variable, say my var, and I can assign a single character to it. This time I'll be using double quotation mark, right? And I can um, okay, I can print that implicitly. So as you can see in here, you see the single character. Okay, so if the string contains a single quotation mark, use double quotes to contain it. If the string contains a double, use single quotes to contain it, or you can use triple quotes for either case. So let's see what we're saying in here. Um, so suppose that uh, you have here, hello world. And what happens if you enclose that in single quotation mark, right? So if you print that, what do you think would happen, guys? Based on your intuition, what do you think would happen if we set it up like this? Like in the inside, you have a double quotation mark, a pair of it, and outside you have a pair of single quotation mark. Any ideas? You're suspiciously quiet. I'm not sure why. Should I call someone? Hasiba, can you please give your thoughts? Share your thoughts about this. What do you think would happen here? It's not telling us that there's an error, so this is a perfectly working code, I guess, right? It will show up in the code, so let's try it. Okay. So there are times that you want to include the codes because it's really part of the string. So in those cases, you can use this technique, right? Um if it has single quotation mark, I think it would also work in here. Um, it would still include that triple quotation mark. I should do. Yeah, there we go. So this time, however, as you can see, it also includes the other one. Maybe I can just remove that. So the first one is the one being used frequently because oftentimes when you're working with strings, you use double quotation marks, not single. So um, yeah. So this is just one trick because you might be thinking, okay, how can I include quotation marks when I want to print the string? So that's how you do it. So Hasiba says, sorry, my mic is not working. I just restart my computer. Yeah, no worries. You can just type your answer. Okay. Oh, so it was Anisa earlier who answered the question. Perfect. Thank you very much. So that's how you do it. That's what I meant with this last bullet. So here, this is just an example. This is a variable, a string variable, and I associated here my name, Jeff. As you can see, I only used a pair of single quotation marks here. And then for my last name, I used the double quotation mark. So this is my surname, Balilia. My occupation is, well, this is not really an occupation, but a statement. I just want to show you that, yeah, I can even use triple quotation marks um, to create uh, string variables, right? So, and I just printed them explicitly at the bottom. So I think there was a question last time by Jeff in, like, I think, well, I'm not totally sure if this is uh the thing that he was asking, like, you have two variables here. like var1 equal to j, and then var2 equal to v, and then what happens when you print var2? I think the question was, I just saw this in the chat box. He asked, I think, that why isn't var1 showing up? So you need to print both if you want to see both of the outputs. Okay, but if you do it this way, okay, if you do it this way, um, say var1, var2, you would observe that only the last one would be printed. So that's the difference between explicit and implicit printing. So with implicit printing, only the last one would be shown. So you have to specifically tell the system that I want to show both of this when you use the print function. Yeah, because this is the last line. So as you can see, this is also being run, but it's being um, overwritten, Anissa. So that's why this is only being shown. But here, you're telling the system that I want to see both var1 and var2. So that's what's happening. Even with computations, under the hood, it would run everything that you have in this sheet. However, only the last one would be shown. So Anissa says, okay, so it only runs the last line. No, no, no. It runs everything, but only shows the last one. All of this in this sheet would be run. However, only the last one would be shown. If you do implicit printing, and again, it's only a property or a function from IDEs. If you work on like the primitive Python, sorry for the word, that's just I just assigned it like the primitive word, but um, what could be the better word for that? The basic, I think, the basic Python environment. It would not allow you to uh, do implicit printing. So you can only do implicit printing with IDEs. Okay. So again, all of this is being run, but only the last one would be shown. So that's something. That's something that you need to remember. Okay, understood. And yep, let's proceed. So the length of a string, if you can remember, we did the same thing with SQL. If we want to identify the number of characters of a string, remember the latter portion of our discussion with SQL. So we can do the same thing here. However, there's a difference in terms of the syntax. So instead of the entire word length, Python only uses len. Okay, this len function would give you the number of characters in a string. Okay, so let's count it. I, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. Why is it 11 if we only have 9 characters in this my string? Anyone? Anyone has an idea why it is 11 instead of 9? Why is it showing 11? If you count the number of letters, then it's just 9. But why is it 11? You can use the chat box if yeah, you don't want to open your microphone. Count the space as well. Perfect. Perfect, Hasiba. So always remember that. So if you count the number of spaces here, so assuming that there are two spaces here, based on what we see, then 9 plus 2 would be 11. So that's why the length is 11. Okay, so let's do that in Colab. So let's create a variable my name, and then say my name is Jeff. Okay, so if we add another space in here and we apply the len function, my name, then it would add that space that extra space that we added before j. Okay, So, is it possible to immediately apply this length function here? What do you think? So, if we apply the length function immediately to the string, it would run. Why? Because it, basically you're just storing it. You're just giving it a name, but the system sees this. Okay, instead of this, the assignment of name, the creation of variable, is for us to make it more readable. But the system sees this thing. Okay, it knows once it sees this. Okay, it knows that the value assigned to that thing is actually this. So the variable creation is basically for us humans to um, to better read, to easily read the codes, especially if it gets really complicated and lengthy. Okay, so you can immediately apply that function even with numbers. That we will see that later. That even with numbers, you don't have to create a variable first and then apply the function. You can directly apply the function to the numbers. Okay, it's basically the same thing, but presented in a different manner. Okay, so that's what we have in here for the length. Now let's proceed to indexing. So in a string, every character is given a numerical index based on its position. In Python, we start at index 0. So index is, you can think of it as an ID, okay? ID for each of the characters of your string. So it always starts with there 0. So this is quite confusing because it's not normal that we start the counting with 0, right? When we count things. So always remember that. You can just think of it as like an ID, okay, that index, like an ID for each of the characters of your string. So here, H is assigned with index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's always n minus 1, where n is the length of the character. So if you hit any string with a length, okay, so that would result to a number and subtract 1 to it. That's like um, the end index, the last index of that string. So as you can see in here, it has a length of 5. However, the index ends at 4 because you started with 0. So this is important to remember because when we access the elements of a string and later on a collection, we'll be using this idea of element indexing. So this also applies not only with strings but also with collections. Like for example, a vector of objects could be vector of numbers, could be a vector of strings, and so on, or a combination of strings, numbers, and even booleans. Okay, and in the strict spire, what is the index of the R? Grace. Grace, are you at work? Are you at work, Grace?
No, I'm here. Um,
Perfect.
I'm
So
sorry.
can you please
What
answer
is
this question? What is the index of the R?
like the n- the
The
number?
letter R. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
the index. Let's go back to this.
Oh, I
Let's
was counting.
identify the index value of this.
Seven,
Yeah.
8, 9, 10. So it's 10 if you count
Okay.
the quotes.
So it's 10. If you count the number of letters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Oh,
8,
I was like
9.
counting it with the quotes.
Oh no no no. Don't include the codes because the codes is actually transforming it into a string. Okay. So there are 9 characters until R, including R. So you just have to subtract
It would
1
be
to it so that you'll get 8, right? So the index value of that is 8. So let's see that. So let's have Skillspire here. However, we might want to create a new version in which we only have until R, right? And hit it with a length. If we hit it with a length, we see that it is 9. And the index value of R is actually 8. So if we hit it with len, um, say 8, right? Ah, no, sorry about that. Um, let's just assign it a variable name, and then here hit it with a string. So here I'm extracting the letter R because I know that it has an index value of 8. Okay, so that's the use of the indexing. We can extract any element if we know its index value. Okay, so knowing that would allow us to manipulate the string. Okay, so that's our next thing here, accessing characters. So each character in a string. Oh, by the way, was that even clear? What I just did before I proceed. So the purpose of the indexing, guys, is to manipulate our strings. So which part of this, Hasiba? Which part of this is confusing or not clear? So here, I just created the string variable, assigned the value Skillspire to it. Now, um, here, well, this should be actually different, maybe on a different location. I applied the length here so that I don't manually count the length of this. So if I do, it would still be the same, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there are 9 characters here, similar to what the length um, gave us. Now, going back to the discussion about the indexing, it always starts with 0 with the first element. So if we start with s equal to 0 here, right? So s would have 0 index value, k would have 1, I would have 2, the first L would be 3, the second L would be 4, um, S would be 5, the P would be 6, I would be 7, and R would be 8. Okay? Sorry, it's not 89. I did not include the E because we only want R. Because here the question was, what is the index of R? So if I include the E, I would not be able to identify, okay, the number of characters before R. But it's easy because the Skillspire word is just short. Okay, so let's consider that. What if we include the E? If we include the E right here, it would give me 10. And if I subtract 1, right, it would give me E, right? So if I assign this to a variable, then I extract 9, you would observe that it would give me the letter E. So that's a strategy for me. So that's a strategy that I employed here. Since I want the R, what I want to do is to count the number of characters until R, and since has an index value of 0, right? The indexing starts with 0. I just subtracted 1 to it, right? Is that even clear, guys? It's a strategy. I'm not saying that you do it, but that's how I thought about it. How I can extract R. My first step one would be count the number of characters until R, and knowing that S has 0, I just subtract 1 so that I can get R. Manually, I just thought about it, Hasiba. So if the length of this, right? If the length of this is 9, if S starts with 0, then if I want R, it should be 8. It's just similar to counting it one by one. And you start it with 0. You start with 0. So this would be 0, S, 1, 2, 3, up until you get to 8. However, I know that um, I'm always starting with 0. So regardless of how lengthy, let me see. How about this? Okay, let's put it right here. I think this would highlight the thing that I want to emphasize on. So suppose I want to get the last character. What would I do with this? You cannot just count it. Well, you can still do it, but it's efficient. It's inefficient, right? Especially if the string is very long. It's very inefficient to count it one by one, and it's prone to error. What you have to do is to think. Okay, think of a process in which you can automatically know. Okay, H is the last character, right? Now I have a function that would give me the length, all of the characters in here. So when we apply the length function, it would give us that, right? It would give us that. Apply it right there. Okay, it seems that there are 95. Imagine counting 95 characters one by one. So now, since I know there are 95 characters in there, if the counting starts from 0 for the indexing, okay, the assignment of indices start with 0, just like what we have in here, what I can do is just to subtract 1 with the length. So if I want to get that h, what I will do is let's assign first a variable key. Just for a while. Okay, apologies for the interruption. So someone was uh at the gate, and I have to look. Anyway, going back here, since I know that there are 9 characters, what I can just do is um subtract 1 to it, right? Let's just first create a variable out of it. And then once we have that, we will be extracting 94 if we want to get the last character, right? So it would give us h. Do you follow, guys? It's just a strategy. Okay, so this could be more complicated as we proceed along. So I want to make sure that all of the things would be clear um before we proceed. Because we'll be extending that. We can add like patterns and how we can extract those characters. So yup, I think that's already clear. And here,
Wait,
um,
one more thing. What was didn't it already recognized it as string? Why do we need to say that it's var? Or that's variable, not the var chart thing. Oh,
um,
okay. Variable.
yeah, because you'd be extracting it. So you might be thinking about this. Grace, like for a very long thing, um, like this one, and then apply the indexing here, right? And then hit it with the 94, something like that.
Or we were getting the positioning by using the function len.
Yeah,
So then
exactly.
we put it in a variable for what purpose in a var?
It's just for simplicity, but
For
it would still
simplicity.
apply. Yeah, yeah. Just for simplicity. As you can see in this thing, even without using a variable, again, variables are just names. It's just for us to, as you can see, if you would compare this thing to the one at the bottom, this is easier to read as
Mm-hmm.
compared to this, right? But it would, what's going on under the hood is it sees this instead of this. But the variable, the assigning of names is for us humans to easily read our codes to make it more elegant.
So then when you put a 94 at the end, you're asking
Mm.
it for
The
which
94th,
character is the 94th?
it's H. No,
Right,
you should
but
not
just by
you should
putting
not
94 at the end, you don't have to put a function at the beginning.
no, not really.
Okay.
Let me correct that. You should not ask for the 94th character. You should ask for the character with an index value of 94, because the 94th character is actually um E. If you start with 1, right? You start with 1 for the character, but if you ask about the index, the 94th would be referring to H because you start with 0.
Okay. But you can do that just by putting bracket 94. You don't have to ask it.
Exactly.
It
Yeah,
knows what you mean, but that's what I mean to ask. Okay.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. So again, the variable that we're creating here is just for us. We're just assigning names to it. But the system actually sees this. So it's what it's doing is this uh this thing, okay, in, I forgot how to call this, cell, this cell 21, okay. Okay, so any questions, guys, before we continue? Hmm? Okay, hearing none, I think everything's clear. So yeah, we consider this Batman equal to Bruce Wayne. I'm not sure if I got the spelling correctly. I think so. Okay. So we are creating here a variable, Batman, equivalent to the string, which is the complete name. Okay. And then what is the first character of Batman? So that is corresponding to the index 0. So basically, you are slicing Batman by getting the first character equivalent to index 0, which is, we know, letter B, right? And you're printing it. So as you can see, the output is B. Now for the third character, again, Batman, and 2 actually refers to you. Why? Because you start with 0, 0, 1, and 2. Do you follow? Let me put my, so that would be B, 0, R, 1, and then you, um, 2. Okay? For some reason, they look like Greek letters. But anyway, did you get the idea for this two things? Okay, perfect. Now erase everything. Okay. Now how would you access the last character of a string if we don't know which character position it is in? So I already gave you this idea, but if you can remember, You did the same during SQL, your last lab question in SQL. So let me show it to you. So this is basically the thing that we did with letter H, but instead of manually subtracting one, we're actually including it in the statement, right? So basically what we're doing right here is we have a string one, and suppose that we don't know the index value of the last character. So this len string would give us the actual length. And when we subtract one to it, it means that we're getting the last number. That is, again, because the indexing starts with 0. The main reason for subtracting 1 is because with index labeling, we always start with 0. But with length function, it counts the exact number of characters. Okay, I hope that's clear. Length counts the character, the actual characters. Indexing, it starts with 0 for the first character. That's why it's less than 1 um, when you compare to the result of length for the last character. Do you follow, guys? Do you follow? Is that even clear? Questions? Questions? Okay, that's something that you need to remember always because in the previous cohorts they are really confused with this. So always remember indexing starts with 0. Len counts all the characters. So you have to subtract 1 to it. That's the reason here. Okay, so string slicing. So this is where things could be confusing. Okay. Um, there are times that we need to get the subset of a string or the subset of a collection. So in those cases, we will be utilizing this, okay, this slicing idea to generate those subsets. So let's see that for the strings. So slicing is a process of obtaining a portion. So for the case of strings, it's called the substring. For the case of sets, it is subset. Um, for the case of lists, it is a sublist, so on. So we'll be utilizing the indices for this. Okay. Um, so for the start and stop, we need to input the indices. Let me see the chat box. Sorry, can you please show in Colab how to find the last character index again? Yeah, sure. So here, um, there are two ways here. I just assign the var name to this string. Um, is this what you're needing, Anissa, or a more a simpler one? So this is yeah. Uh let me give you a simpler example here because I think this is too lengthy. So suppose that yeah we have this variable string and we want to get this character. So what I'll do is we can extract it, right? We can extract it. So we have to use the length of that string and subtract 1 to it, and that's what we want to. The result of this is actually just a number, right? This is just a number, guys. If you print this is just a number. That's 9. If you just print this part, it's 10. Okay. Now we apply that, since that results to a number, we apply that to our variable or to our string. Regardless, you can apply it directly here, or in most cases, you'd be applying it to the variable that you created. So this one would give you the letter E. It's actually the same thing, even if you put the actual string in here, it would still be the same. So this statement is just a way for you to get the corresponding index value for the last character. Okay, got that. Yep. Awesome, awesome. So let's go back here. What we want here is a substring, which is like a smaller, a part of the original string. Okay, and we will be using this framework, start and stop. However, there's an important thing that you need to remember here. The stop index in the string will not be included in the substring. Okay, so if this is the stop, okay, if this is the end. So suppose that this is say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the index value of that is 5. So you put 5 in here and say you start with 1. You start with 1. The 5 will not be included. So it would only include 1 to 4. So this would be included as you see right here. Always remember that the end value, the stop value, will not be part of the substring or the subset. Okay, it applies not only with strings but with collections as well, as we will be seeing as we proceed along. Okay, and I want you, John, to go through this. This is for W3 schools that they can look at, and there are in-depth discussion about this. But I don't want to burn so much time in there because I want to focus more on the slicing of collections. But I think you have sufficient time in the lab to do that. Okay. Any questions with this, guys, before I proceed to the next one? Sorry about the very messy side here. Just want to put emphasis on things. Okay, seeing none, I think everything's clear. So let's have an example here to see it in action. So here we have a my string. Again, this is just a name. You can think of also like a collection of the string from letter A to letter P. Now this 0 to 4, so this is the start. 0 is the start. Okay, so this is the end. However, the end will not be included to in the output. So this is the start. So A, B, C, D. Why D? D is equivalent to an index value of 3. However, as you can see, we're not including the fourth, which is E. That's why we only have A, B, C, D in there. Okay, and here we don't start with 0. Uh, so we're starting with B, right? And until 7, and we'll not be including exactly 7, so that is equivalent to H. So we ended up with B to G. Do you follow, guys? Was that even clear? I want you to look at it carefully and be completely honest with me, so that I can provide a more detailed discussion of the thing. And here, as you can see, we have a statement right here. Again, this thing would just give you a number. So this is just a number. What is the length of my string here? So basically, what you're trying to get here would be starting from the uh, string corresponding to the index value of 8 until to the end, right? Until to the end. So basically from I to P. That's what you have in there. Do you follow? You might be thinking, oh, why does it include P if you said earlier that the last character will not be included? If you put a number in there, then it will not be included if it's just equivalent to the actual index label of P. But remember, the count, the length is always larger than the last index label, the index label of the last character. So that length would always be greater, right? So you have that adjustment. Okay, if it's greater, then it would include the last value. Do you follow? Is that even clear, guys? Why it included the P? What is the index value of P here? It's length of that string minus 1, right? Do you follow? So if you want to include P, then just use length minus string, which is greater than the index value of P, right? So if it's greater than that, then it would include P. Do you follow? It's greater than 1. So that's why you have P in there. Okay, guys, is that clear? Okay, so maybe I should go to Colab and explain it more clearly. So say I have a string, say my surname, okay, and the length of that string is this, okay, 7. Let's put it right here. Okay, so we have a 7 in there. Now, we know that the index value, right, for 0, that is equivalent to B, right? That is equivalent to B. We know that. This would result to a false if it's not the case. Um, Sorry, should I close it with B? So it's true, right? And even we check the other things, it would be also true. So this is equal to A and so on, right? So all of that. So the index labeling idea always starts with 0. So now, what if we want to start from like want to include everything? How do we do that? We want to include everything, but still use the slicing. How do we do that? So we'll start with the string, right? From the very beginning, which is 0. 0 corresponds to letter B. And then what is the end? That is the length of the string. Because the length of the string is 7, right? And you start the counting, right? Index value 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So even though, okay, you have 7 in there, but 7 is exactly 7 is not included, but you don't have any value there that is equivalent to 7, then it would include A. But put in here, if I put in here exactly 6, that would be a problem. Wait. What's the problem here? String indices must be integers. The length of a string. Ah,
A colon, sir,
colon.
between
Ah,
0
oh
and
yeah,
1.
yeah, 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 yeah. Why did I even use a comma right there? As you can see, it includes the entirety of my surname. But if I put 6 in here, which is equivalent to A, it will not include that. So it would give us less A. You cannot get the entirety of the string. Do you follow? So yeah, that's the thing that we just did in here. Okay, is it clear now, guys? Is it clear now? Mm. Okay, here no, probably it's already clear, but please let me know if you encounter any troubles. Okay, so now we'll be extending it. What if you want to get like every other letter of the string? How would you do that? So we'll be adding this argument step, okay, in our slicing. So let me go through this. We can also slice a string by defining a step through which we can skip characters in the string. The default step is 1. So here, from the default one, the step is 1. So that's just going through each of the characters, right? But we can manually change it by assigning a number of skips. So here, we assign the step as every 2 characters. So starting from 0, which is equivalent to A, right? You'll be skipping 2 characters until you reach 6, but 6 is not included. Okay? So with 0, A, you have that. Then count 2 characters, 1, 2. You have C in there. Then from C, you count 2 characters, 1, 2. Get the E. However, what is the index table of E? Guys, what is the index value of E? Len of A to E is 5. So the index value of E is 4. Why is it that we did not include G? Supposedly that should be the next. Because we have 6 in here,
You don't
right?
include this
You don't
stuff.
include it. Exactly. Exactly. Perfect. So since we ended 6, that's why we don't have G. But if we include, if we increase it, like add 1 to it, then the G would be included, like 0 to 7. Change the 6 to 7, and then there should be a G in there. Let's try it. Let's try it. I think it's John. Can you make a screenshot and paste it in the chat box? Thank you, John. So let's do that. I have new string here. A B C D E F G H I J, and we want to print. Well, the print is not really necessary, but new string 0, 7, 2. This way, we will be sure that we'll be including G, just like what we have predicted, because that would include now the counting would be A 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's until G because H is 7. So here index equal to 7 is equal to H, but it's not included, right? So that's what happened. So that's why we have G in there, and we're skipping by 2. So starting from E, E, F, and then G. Okay? All clear, guys? All clear? Okay, let's have a practice. I'll be giving you 3 to 5 minutes for this one, just to solidify the concept. Write a line of code following the format string, start, stop, stop, which displays every other character of hello. And the answer that you should be getting is HLO. Your timer starts now. I'll be calling someone to share their work. Okay? You just need to identify the correct index value that should go in the step, the stop, and the start to get the HLO. By the way, guys, while you're doing the practice, I'll not be around on Monday. I have a schedule in the Czech embassy. So let's see, maybe I'll just do a lecture session on Tuesday. So John, can we switch so that there will be no disruptions? So on Monday you'll be having your lab, and on Tuesday um, let's have the lecture. Anyone who got the answer? Okay, okay. You need to know this by heart, because maybe in your exam there's no way for you to validate the answer through codes. So I might be asking you questions that would require you to really do it in your head, because there's no way for you to validate it, like what happened with SQL, right? There are questions there that you cannot do in mode, so it would require you to really process it in your mind. So yeah, you really need to understand the concept. There are things that you can do by trial and error, but I think it's important that you know it by heart.
Do I need to share my screen?
Sure, Grace, please go ahead.
It's kind of in the middle of all this testing, but right there. So if I call it my variable is the string hello, and I want you to print this variable of 0, 5 every other because it starts at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, but the 4 will stop there, so you have to include +1 on there,
Perfect.
and I got
Perfect.
HLO.
Or just plainly just get the length right, so that every character would be run through um by the slicing, right? So this is perfect. I actually did it the same way. So do we have any others? How Grace got this? So again, the key here is to correctly identify the starting, the ending, and the steps. Simple as that. So you might be thinking, where would we be using this? So okay, okay. Grace, can you share it again, and can you discuss it even more? Okay, okay. No problem. No problem, guys. No problem. It's completely normal. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Maybe I need to explain it myself. Okay. I'm sharing my screen again. I think I need to slow down a bit. Okay. I need to slow down a bit, and um, you don't want to do it really, really fast. Can you see it again, my screen? Okay. Perfect. Um, guys, here, let me go back here. Okay. From the generation of the length and so on. Um, this is not a function. Whenever we, however, with this, I haven't mastered this. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Understood. Thank you very much for that, Anissa. So let's step back a bit. Let's step back a bit and review this things that we talked about earlier. Here, what we're doing is we are assigning a name to this string. This is actually a variable now. Okay, we use this operator, this equality operator, to create a variable. Now, in Python, most of the time, functions go with parentheses. So this len is actually a function. Okay, whenever you see this like framework that has this pair of parentheses, that's mostly a function. Okay, so this is not a function, but it could be a function. A variable could be a function, and it's perfectly fine. Okay, it's valid to create a function and assign a variable name to it. Um, but in this case, it's not. It's just a string. If we print my name, okay, if we print my name here, it would give us this phrase. Okay, my name is Jeff. And the length here, it is a function in Python that gives you the length, the number of characters, including the spaces. Okay. Now, um, what we're doing here is we're accessing the characters of the string when we use the square bracket. Okay. So let me add it in here. So the square bracket allows us or allow us to extract or to access the elements of the string. Okay, so this square brackets is not a function. Okay, that is um, a key that would allow us to, okay, you have a string, you want to access its element, then you can use it. So it's a slicing operator. Okay, it can also be called SOMB. It can also be called a slicing operator. Okay, that pair of square brackets. Now, here we are creating a variable val, which is equivalent to skillspire, a string. And what we're doing right here is we are accessing the element corresponding to index label 9. Because the slicing actually takes um, the index label, right? Index label here. So the val 9 here is equivalent to the e at the end. If we look into length of val, it is 10. Okay, this thing. So 10, however, with index labeling, we start with 0. So this counts the number of characters. However, for index labeling, we start with 0. With 0. Okay? Do you follow? So that's why if you want the last character here, you should have 9 instead of 10. Okay? Because if you try slicing val and you want the 10, it would give you an error that it is out of bounds, out of range, I should say. Okay? My memory tells me that this should be out of bounds. Out of bound. Anyway, so that's why uh, the reason for this is because the reason for this is that the last character has an index equal to 9. Okay? Do you follow, guys? Do you follow? Okay, now let's proceed to the thing here. Um, in our practice, we have this my string, which is equal to hello. And what we want to get is we want to get each hello, which is basically every other character, right? Every other character in this word hello. So what we want to think, okay, before we do anything, what do we mean by every other character? So every other character, that statement, every other character, it means step equal to 2. That's the meaning of it. Because step equal to 1 is just the usual thing that we did earlier, going through each of the elements. If you want to skip, right, one character, then the step should be 2. You'll be skipping one in between of the characters uh that you get. So that's one thing that we should know. And the next thing is what should be the start and the stop. So it wants every other character of the word. So it should be beginning to end, right? So assuming that we don't know the index label of the last character, what should we do? We can just use the length of that character minus 1, right? If it's very lengthy. So what we can do with that is um, to get that HLO, this is what we want to achieve. Okay. So let's slice it. So my string would be sliced now, and we know that the step is 2. We know that. So we can just automatically plug it in. And we know that the start of every index label is 0. So what's left is the last character. So without even counting the number of characters in hello, what we can do is length of hello, right, minus 1. When we do that, yes, length of my string. Okay. So basically, this statement would give you a number. It's a standalone statement in Python. If you do it, it would give you 5. What? Ah, I haven't run it yet. Let's put it in a separate cell. I haven't run this yet. So if we run this one, we now have 4. However, should be 5, right? Length minus 1 is actually equal to index label of the last character, right? So the reason why we subtracted that is to get the index label of the last character, but we want to include even the last character. That should be the O. So what we do is just remove the like minus 1 in there, similar to what we did earlier with, where is that? Uh, Similar to what we did here, right? And once we do that, this length right here would now be the correct one, which is equal to 5. So now, if we hit it with that, we will get the HLO. Do you follow? Is it clear now? Guys, questions? Okay, okay, yeah. You have sufficient practice on lab.
So what in your example you don't have print as a like command in front of it. You don't need to, like in this case, and having print in front of it, they're like
Mhm.
the same or like redundant, or
It's just the same.
it's the same. Okay.
It's just a different type of displaying output. So this one is called um implicit printing without the print function. When you use the print function, it's called explicit. If we put it right here at the bottom and we assign a print to it, basically the same, but this is called implicit printing, and the explicit rather. And notice that with implicit printing, it actually gives you an idea that this is a string by having that set of quotation marks. But basically, they're the same.
Okay, thanks. That
Okay?
helps.
Yep, yep. Questions, guys? Questions? Okay, so let's look at another thing. I think I have. Okay, you'll have more practice of this. I think we have like 30 practices in the lab for this one. Um, yeah, but I think for the first time you can master the
So
idea.
and then
Yep.
can you go back to this one right here? My string 052. So
Hmm.
then do you say that for string slicing, we're gonna put the length number, not the index number? Is that how you
Um,
would define and teach that? Or in this case, we're doing an index number plus 1 because we want to include the O
yeah,
based on the question. You know what I mean?
exactly. It's based on the question, Grace.
So
The
then the
index
different so then the format in string slicing is to do start stop based on the index position, not
exactly,
the length. Okay.
not the
Okay.
length. I just use the idea of the length since I know that it's always
Yeah,
greater
and
than
so that's
the
how I
index label.
explained it as the index, but then like you were
Yes.
like, "Oh yeah, but you can just put the length of -1 in it." So I was like, that might get more confusing. So
Yeah, yeah. Sorry,
yes.
sorry about that.
No, no, no. I got it, but
Yeah.
I want to understand it too, right?
Yep,
Backwards,
yep.
forwards.
So, yeah, what goes in here, is actually the index label, again, guys. So, um, it's not a requirement for you to use the length. I just use it as a strategy so that I don't need to count all of the characters, especially if the string is really long. So since the question specifically asks to uh display every other character, so I'm assuming that it's from the first up to the last character. That's why I used the length in here, but it's not really a requirement because what goes in here which should be the index label. Okay, just like what Grace said. Most of the time, what you would be considering would be actually short strings. So yeah.
Okay,
So at
wait, I
least
have another
yep.
question.
Sure.
So if in stop and it doesn't count the stop character or the last character,
Mhm.
why wouldn't the default be that start, stop, and step, that in stop we use the length? Because then it would include the whole string.
Yeah, it would include the full string.
But yeah, but
Uh,
then why isn't that the default definition of string slicing? Is when you put stop, you're putting the last character or the length number of length characters, not index. Do you know what I mean? Because a stop at stopping at 5, you end up not including the index of 4 because O is the index character 4. So you don't end up putting 0, 4 if you
no,
want to
no, no, no,
include the.
no, no, Grace. The five here is actually an index label, which is supposedly index label of five. However, you only have an index value at most here of four. So that's why O is included.
Can you say that one more time? Because
Yeah.
I know
So
that I would think, okay, hello has an index of 4.
mm, exactly the maximum. Yeah.
Right. So if you say for string slicing, start, stop, step, and stop, we're gonna put the index number. The
Mm.
correct by that definition, one would put 042.
Yeah, that's correct. By definition, that should be the case. However, we also know by definition that the four would not be included. If you want
Right.
to scan all
So then
throughout,
why is the
mm,
default to for stop that you're going to put the stop? Why is the default for stop that you're going to put the index number when we could just put the length number because then it won't truncate anything.
yeah, I think it's because of the difference of like how the index labels were assigned. Like it starts with zero, and the counting for the length is always starting with one for the first character. I think that's where the difference lies. So if you want to, yeah, I got your point. That if you go back to the definition, if you want to include all of the characters, so the stop should like get all of the characters, right? If you just focus on that thing.
Yeah,
However,
because then
um,
until you said we should see HLO, I'm like, well, then the correct way, based on just the command
to
of
get
this
the length,
question, it would be 042. That would be the correct way to write
that,
every other letter
exactly.
with an
Mm.
index at stop 4.
Yeah, I agree. However,
Yeah.
if you look at how it works, right? The four, although it's there with well, what the system will do, it would disregard that string equivalent to an index value of four. So you're not really scanning through all of the strings. So yeah, there's a sort of discrepancy with the definition and how things work, but I think it's only because of um, the thing that the index labeling starts with zero. So always, I think it's always better to remember that okay, if I want to scan over through all of the characters, I should have the length of the character that goes into that index uh, value for stop, and not the index label corresponding to the last element, because it would not include that actual last element, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Exactly.
So always remember that. So for me, again, even I'm not seeing the length of the string, right? Even without counting it, I know that if I want to get everything, all of the characters of it, I can just say, okay, the stop should be the length of it. It's always greater than one, as compared to the index label of the last character. So I always use that, especially if I want to be like, I want to do it faster, right? Without even counting it one by one. So, but it would be totally different. Like, we should stop at a specific letter. So in that case, it would be different because you need to do it manually, like count the number of letters until that specific character. Okay, or just immediately um, uh, get the index label up to that. Okay. Are the others following the thing that Grace and I was discussing? So the stop value here is a bit confusing. Okay, always remember that the corresponding value for that index label would not be included. So if you want to include a specific number, just add one value to it. Okay, yes, because when I initially tried 042, yes, yes. If you do that, like if we do it this way, it won't include that. It would just give you a shell. The reason for that is if you go back to the definition for the start stop step, it doesn't actually include the stop, the value corresponding to the stop. So that's why even though the four here, okay, the four here, where is that? Where's the hello? So even though the O is corresponding to the four, right? Index label of four, it's not really included. So you're not really scanning through all of the letters if you just put four at the stop. So that's the thing that Grace was mentioning earlier. That it seems that for when you want to scan all of the elements, it's better to use the length of it. Okay. Line was the only thing that allowed the form to work on my end. Hmm. Okay. Let me think. You can actually do this without the length function. So the length function is just an extra here that I did. In fact, if you just change it, because this thing, Anissa, would just give you a number. So if you look at it, paste it in a different cell and run it, it would actually give you this number. So you can just immediately change that to 5, and it should work. It should give you the same thing, even without using. So the length function saves you from counting each of the characters of the word, each of the characters of the string. That's what it is giving you. Okay. I wonder why there's a crab in there. Like there's a dog and a cat, and I wonder why they put the crab. Okay. 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 Awesome. Awesome. You're welcome. So, yep, let's proceed. So, here we're concatenating strings. If you can recall with SQL, there are multiple ways to concatenate strings. You can use the concat function, right? Do you remember the concat function or the pipe operator? So for me, pipe operator is more straightforward. So, but Python is more, well, I should say intuitive, more intuitive as compared to SQL because you can actually use plus symbol, the plus operator to concatenate strings. So let's do that. So, um, so let's create here a section for concatenating strings, concatenate and pasting together. So my full name will be a composition, right, of my first name and my last name. Okay, so we need to define first what are these. The first name would be Jeff, and then my last name, we are look at how the system identifies that this is not yet existing. And once we define it, it automatically knows that okay, um, there it is. So if we print full name, right? If you do this, what do you think would happen? What is the resulting thing? My full name. However, it's not proper. It's not a proper full name because I lack space in between my first name and my last name. What do we do with that? So we'll just add a space right there. So that would give me my proper full name. Do you follow? So if you want to paste a string or concatenate strings together, you can just use the plus symbol. This is just similar to this. Let's make it in a more straightforward way. Jeff plus the one that you saw um, in the slides, and then print full name. I'm doing exactly the same thing in a different way. Okay, please don't be confused. So as you can see, they're just the same. This is through variable assignment, which is longer. It needs several steps, and I used implicit um, display here. And here I used a more straightforward way without creating variables to hold this things, and I got the similar result. Do you follow, guys? Okay, cheers. So let's proceed to operators. So operators are, well, they are straightforward in the sense that, well, we know our mathematics well, right? So it's one of the most loved subjects. Really? Hated subjects, I should say. No, but this operators we are all familiar with. We have the parentheses, we have the addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and exponentiation. So um, yeah, so the exponent operator is, I think, quite different from the other programming language because the other programming languages use caret. However, Python uses double asterisk. So always remember that. I always got confused with it. Because with R it uses caret, but Python uses double exponentiation. So I want you to do this, okay, with John later. Create a variable called num1, okay, and assign the value 13 to it. Create a variable called num2 and assign the value 10 to it. Create a third variable called num3, which is the value of the sum of 1 and 2. Display the value of num3 in a sentence, okay, in a sentence. So there should be, you should do something in the print, and I'll be sharing it to you how. So here, the full name is this. So the full name is a variable, right? So take note that here that this is a variable, and I can actually include a variable in my print statement. So we can include a variable in our print statement. And how do we do that? To print my correct blank is this. My correct full name is that. Okay. So if we do that, my correct would be printed as a string, similar to how you printed before, and then this variable would be printed based on its value. Do you follow? So that's what I want you to do with the spec test with John later, that I want to display the value of the num3 in a sentence. So could be the sum of num1 and num2 is this. Okay? So you just use this idea that yeah, you can include the print function variable. And let's see, even this my string, I can add that in my print function. And see, let's see, and my, oh sorry, and my grade and my GPA, okay, is my string. Let's see, my GPA is hello. I thought that this is length my string, length of my string, right? Doesn't make sense. My GPA is hello. Okay, my GPA is 5, and I can add another thing here to make it even proper. There we go. Okay. So you can extend the idea of printing there, um, by combining the strings with the variables. Okay, all good, guys.
Aren't we gonna go over changing data types?
Yeah, we'll go over changing data types. So
So can
I'll
you
just skip this
change
part.
length of my string into a float
Mhm.
so that it will be expressed as a 5.0?
Yeah, you can do that. Actually, you can just apply the float function in there. Float. Um, let's say length of my string. So again, this thing is an integer, right? Do you agree with me?
Right.
So the float function, this is called explicit conversion. We will be talking about that.
Explicit.
Explicit conversion, exactly. So this would give you a decimal part, which is basically a floating point number. Okay, we will be talking about that, Grace. Don't worry. So we will be converting different data types. Yeah. So comparison operators, basically similar with SQL. However, the equal to, I think, is it double equal symbol also with SQL? No,
equal
no, it's
only.
just equal only. Yeah, single equal. Yeah. So that's one difference, major difference with. I think that's the reason why I highlighted it. For some reason, I tend to forget it every now and then. So the main difference between SQL and Python is that the equal in Python is different. So it's basically used to create variables. Okay, so it's a variable assignment operator. So if you want to do the good old equal to, then you use the double equal symbol. Okay, so if you want to see if two values are equal, then you use the double equal symbol. And the others are just the same. Even the not equal to, as you can see, it's just the same with SQL. So it's very easy for you to apply it here. And the result of a comparison always a bool, either it's true or false. So as you can see in here, we have num1 equal to 5, num2 equal to 10, num3 equal to 10, and we are printing is num2 greater than num1. Yes, it is. So the result is true. So always remember that the result of a comparison is always a boolean. Okay. Um, yeah. Let me show it to you. Say num1 equal to 1, num2 is equal to 2, um, num1 plus num2 is equal to 3 type. Here, the type function would give us the idea that it is a bool. Okay, so here, the type function gives us the data type. Okay, so the result of that, if you just run the argument inside, is actually a true, right? So this is a true, which is a boolean. Do you follow? So that's the thing here. Yeah, the others are just self-explanatory. Is num2 equal to num3 using the equal double equal symbol. Okay. And here, another practice that I want to go through. What would be returned with the following codes? So I want to ask. Um, yeah, I think Jeff needs more time. Hasiba, what would be the result of the first line, the first print? Hasiba, are you there? What would be the result of the first print? Okay, yeah, 13 equal to 10. Um, if we run it in Python, would it still be, would it give us that thing, 13 equal to 10, or some other thing? What would be the actual output? Okay, let me provide the answer. The output would be false for the first one, right? Because we're um what we're doing here is a comparison with the double equal symbol. Is 13, or the sum of 3 and 10, equal to the sum of 5 and 5, which is equal to 10? Is 13 equal to 10? Is what the statement is. Of course, it is not. So that's why you have false in there, right? And similar with the one at the bottom, is 3 less than or equal to 2? The answer is false, right? Because the 3 is greater than 2. So if we run it in Python, both statements would give us false, right? Is it intuitive? Both statements are false. Okay? Was it clear, guys? Can I get the thumbs up? Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So, yep, uh, there's a short discussion about comparison operator because we will be using it in a different purpose later on, like filtering our data frame. We'll be using that. Um, so we'll be ending the comparison operator there, and we'll proceed with converting data types. Okay. So I've shown you earlier the type function. Okay. It would give you the things here like the class. So there are classes in Python, class of string, a class of integer, and a class of float. So type is very useful in the sense that if you're not sure of the data type of the object that you're working on, we can verify it through the type function. Why is it important? Because there are methods that only work with a certain data type. Like for example, we're trying to get the sum or the average. Well, the sum would work even with strings. But for example, getting the average of a boolean, it won't work, right? So knowing the data type of the object that you're working on is really important, um, especially if you want to do further manipulation and apply different functions to it. So as you can see in here, we have a string, integer, and a float. Okay. So we're able to change the data type of a variable by using this functions. So here we have an integer using this str function. You can explicitly convert this integer into a string. Let's do that. So my age, say my age, go to 18, and then I want to convert that my age into a string. Simple as that. And then let's get the type of my age. It should now give us a string, right? And if you print that, my age, it will be as a string. Okay. Oh, it's still a number, Jack. However, if you remove the print function and just say, okay, my age, it's in close and single quotation marks, right? As compared to here, that since this is a number, it's not in close and quotation mark. Do you follow? So this explicitly tells us that it is a string. Do you follow? Is that even clear? So you might be thinking, oh, okay, Jeff, is it possible to convert a string into a number? Yes, if originally it was a number, right? So we can put it back like my age num int my age, which is originally um number. We can do that. So now it's already a number, and just like what we did earlier, we can even convert it into a float. However, there are obvious things that you cannot do, like converting a string into a number if it's originally a string. So, for example, my name goes to Jeff, and if you even try to convert it into an integer, see what would happen. To tell you that invalid literal for int with a base 10 Jeff. Basically, it's telling you that it's not possible to convert it into an integer because it's not really a number to begin with. Okay, do you follow, guys? Is that even clear? Questions, questions. So it's obvious, right? That well, you don't have any reasons to do that. So you don't have any reasons to convert a name into an integer or a number. So it's not really something that's counterintuitive. Um, and let's see. Um, yeah, the float we already did that, and yep. So these are the typical conversions that you will do with your data. However, later on, there's this another type of conversions um, for containers. Okay, you can convert one container type to another container type. So, for example, list into a set and say list into a matrix form. Okay, so once we solidify these things, because um, the process in creating those containers uses the idea of this index labeling, length, and so on. So before we go into that, this should be solid. Okay. Some other some other lectures they immediately go into that without even discussing this basic concept. So um, if you do that, the foundation is shaky. So there would be times that the student would be confused. Okay. So that's all we have for today. And what's left would be the supplementary practice that you'll be doing with John. So, John, I want you to bombard them with practice with slicing. and we have a couple of that. We have tons of that uh, in our practice. So bombard them with practice today and until tomorrow. And Jeff, you can ask John for what I think you missed significant portion of the discussion. So please don't hesitate to ask John for help.
Oh, no
And
worries, no worries. Yeah, actually, I'll probably do that, but then I'll probably try to watch the video first, so that would be easier for me to do that
yeah,
tomorrow.
yeah, you can also do that. And just to show you what we have on Saturday. Yeah, what day is today? It's already Wednesday, right? Yeah, it's already Wednesday. Um, yeah, I think I will not be missing you on Saturday. I mean, I already uh I took five 500 milligram like of anti-flu drug. So I don't think this would be worse, but um yeah, I'll be notifying you if ever I get worse. But again, on Monday I'll not be around, so I'll be switching the sessions. On Monday you'll be having a lab, and then on Tuesday the lecture session. I just have something that I need to attend. Um, schedule in the Czech embassy. Oh wait, Saturday. What do we have for Saturday? It's not. It's not loading. Let me share my screen again. My computer is acting up. It's 0% complete. I have it stored in my OneDrive, so every time I need it, I have to download it from beginning. Let's see. Yeah, data structures, the containers that I was saying earlier. So this data structures. Um, make sure that the object slicing, that the string slicing is solid. Okay, because if it's not, then it would be very difficult for you to work with the upcoming topics, this data structures. Okay, so it's a foundational stuff. So please make sure that you understood well by heart the topic that we just discussed today. That would be very important for this for the discussion of this data structures. Okay, so yep, that's what we'll have on Saturday. So that's it. Thank you very much, guys, and good luck with the lab. Okay, John. Aside the easy, intermediate, and difficult. Okay, yeah, you can assign the advanced ones just to make sure. So thank you very much, guys. It's always see the chat box. Hasiba says, thank you, Jeff. You're welcome. It's always fun to have a session with you guys. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Okay, hello everyone. So I think before we proceed to the lab session, let's have a quick break for you to have some refreshments. You can take your coffee, water, or a quick dinner if, if you are used to that. Able to stay duration. Yes, it's okay, Anissa. So let's up. Okay, it's okay, Anissa. You can just go back to the videos. I will just post it right away after our meeting ended. So let's have a 10-minute break and that and we will continue on the practices. Okay, hello everyone. Are you there? Hello? String slicing. Okay. So I think before we proceed to that, let's go all over again on the things that we have discussed today. So our discussion today, it was all about the strings, the arithmetic operators, and the comparison operators. Regarding the arithmetic operators and the comparison operators, are everything clear to this on these topics? Is everything clear about these topics? The arithmetic operators, these are the things that we have practiced yesterday about. It is about the addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, exponentiation. So those are the arithmetic operators that we are commonly using and in mathematics. The comparison operators are the things that we are using and its common output is a boolean. It is either true or false. Like sometimes we need to ask, is the number greater than 5? Like this, comparison operators. Greater than, less than, greater than or less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, and not equal to. But about the slicing, let's create let's create a simple example about the slicing on the Excel so that we can easily understand this. Okay, suppose we have a string. Can you see my screen, everyone? Can you see it? Thank you for that. So suppose I have a string, my name, and it is equal to this. Okay, let me fix it first. J O N H. Oops. Okay, let me fix this first. So I have this string. I have this string. My name. The name of the variable is my name, which is equal to general Dan. So if we will find the length of this, let's say if we will apply length of my name, what would be returned? The length will literally return to us how many are the elements of this string, my name. Okay, this will do. So if we will apply length to my name, it the counting that will apply is literal counting like we are commonly doing. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that is when we apply length. So length will count everything on our string, including the spaces. Okay. So it it just it will just return us how many are the contents or the letters in this particular string. What the difference of this into indexing is indices starts at 0. So that is the only difference between these two. So referring to the indexing, it actually looks like this. This is for the indexing. Let me highlight this. And this is for the length. So the length starts literally just the count, including the space. Indexing, it is also counting, but it starts at 0. So when you are asked, what is the index of this? Oh, so you will say that its index is 1. So index of O is 1. So what is the syntax if you want to extract that O from this entire string? So you will do this. Name, or you can apply print name, or the name of the variable, my name, and then using the square brackets, you will type O. You will type not O itself, but the index of O. Happen. So like this. And this thing will give you an O. Okay, let's try to export that on Python so that we can see it real time. So I will create a string. My name, which is equal to general Dan. Okay. Suppose you want to extract this O. So what you can do is to print my name. Okay. This part, my name, is the name of the variable. Okay. And then if you want to extract particular things on this string, you need to indicate, or you need to find what's its index. So the index of this O based on this is 1. So if we will type 1 here, it should give us the O. Okay. How about we want to extract this L? This L from my name, General Dan. If you want to extract the L, you need to call 7. So let's try that. Print my name 7, and it should give me the L. Okay. So the pattern is, what if you want to extract the last one? So you can use the index 10. Okay. So if you will print my name 10, since the index of n is 10, n will be returned. Okay. Is that clear? That part of the discussion. Is this clear? Before I proceed to the other variation of this. Okay, so it is clear. How about Anissa and Grace? Okay, so I assume that makes sense. In indexing, what's special about this is, let me insert another. So we have this thing in indexing, negative indices. Okay, how does it work? So you can refer to the last element as -1. That is the thing that is special to indexing. So if you want to access the last element, you can just simply type print my name -1. In that way, you can extract the last one. Let me convert this first into a comment so that you can see it clearly. You can use 10 since there are 11 elements on this based on the length. Okay. And based on the index, you can use 10 to extract the last. But you can also use -1 to extract the last, just like what we did here. Both of these will give you n as the last element. And this -1, you can extend it. Like this is -2, this is -3, this is -4, and so on. Oops. -8, -9, -10, -11. Okay. So that negative indexing, you can extend that until the front, up until the front. So you can apply that negative indexing up to the first element. So actually, on a single string like this, you can access it in two different ways. Its elements can be accessed in two different ways by using the positive index and by using the negative index. So if you want to access this R, let's say you want to access this R, this letter R, you can use +5 as index or the -6. So let's try that. We can use +5, oops, the name of the variable followed by square brackets. You can use 5. So if we run that, it will give you an R. Or as our claim, we can use -6. And it will also give you the R. Okay? Is everything clear to this point? So negative indices can also be used to access those letters. So the thing is, in indexing, okay,
Why do you think this wasn't discussed in lecture? This would be this would have been helpful.
this part, the
Negative.
negative indices, the reason why it is not part of the lecture is it is not commonly used. The thing that is commonly used is the -1 only. If you want to access the last element, so that you don't need to count them individually, starting from 0. Okay. So what are the things that I'm missing here? Where are we? Okay. In slicing, the key is you have the variable name. Okay, so the pattern is this. You have variable name. Oops. My Excel is acting weird. Let me fix it. The pattern is variable name. Okay. Followed by square bracket. Now that's how we can access the elements of a string. So the thing is, inside this brackets, the only things that are allowed to go inside this are numbers. Okay. The only things that should go inside this are numbers. Okay. So let's take a look on the length function. Length function will give us how many are the elements of this. And we know that it is 11. Since the output of the length function is a number, we can use this to be an input on this, like this. So print my name, and then inside that you can put something that will give you an output that is a number. Okay. Oops. This should be a square bracket. Okay. So the pattern looks like this. Print and then my name followed by a square bracket. And inside the square bracket, you want a number. So you can use this. Let's take note that this is equal to 11. However, okay, before I run this, I will put it here. Print my name 11. What will happen if I do that? From my name, which is the string, I want to extract the element that has an index of 11. If I do that, what happens is it gives us an error. And the reason is there is no such element which has this index 11. So going back to the Excel, okay, if you are focusing on the index, there is no index that is 11. Negative 11, there is, but positive 11 is different to that. So you are trying to extract something that is not existing. That's why it gives us an error. So what can we do? You can actually perform mathematical operations on this. So let's say you want to subtract 2, you want to subtract 3, you want to subtract 5. You can do that. And what happens is the thing inside is the first that will be performed. So this will be simplified into 6. And it will give you that element that has an index of 6, which is O. Okay. So is that clear? You can do mathematical operations inside those brackets or even parentheses. Okay, so following that logic, since this thing will give you a number, what if you subtract 1 from this? So let's say minus 1. So from 11, it will give you 10, right? From 11, it will become 10 because 11, this is 11 minus 1. So this will become 10. So using the accessing, you can subtract 1 here. Okay, so this one seems a bit long. So let's break it down. Starting from the inner part. So my name is the name of our variable. And you are trying to determine what's the length of that variable. We know that the length of that variable is 11. The length of that string is 11. And you from 11, you are subtracting 1. So this whole thing is 11 minus 1, which is equal to 10. And from that, you are trying to access that element with an index 10 from my name. Okay? So it looks like this if you will simplify that. So instead of typing 10 or the last element, you can just type this. And you are going to print that. And in that way, the last element is being returned. So in cases that the Python code seems like it is it is becoming more complicated, start the interpretation at the innermost part. That is the thing that I can recommend to break it down. Just like what we did on the SQL, start the interpretation or the understanding of the codes at the innermost part so that it will be clear. So this code will give you the last element. Is that clear? Grace and Hasiba, I think I delete the chat.
Yeah, that's clear.
So everything is clear. So that is for accessing single values from the string. That is only for to access one element. So what if you are interested in accessing more than one element? Okay. So we can also do that. So before that, let me clear this. Let me clear this things. So this pattern is for accessing. I think it's better if I will transfer this on this platform and make it a comment. Oops. I will just type it. Variable name followed by index, a single index. To access single values. Okay? But what if you want multiple values? What if from this string, I want to access this JONH part? You can also do that by utilizing its index again. So if you want to extract something from a string, you need to use the index. And by accessing parts of a string, the pattern is almost the same, but there is an additional part. You have the start and you have the stop. Okay? Basically, you have two parts. Later on, we will extend it into three parts. The reason why I am emphasizing this and I am breaking this down up to this level is on the data structures, the same logic applies. So if we can establish that understanding to this point, it is easier to expand on the data structures. So you have the start and you have the stop. The start, the thing that you need to take note on this, start is included on the result. Okay? While stop is not. Remember that start and stop are indices. Where can we find these numbers? From this. So following that logic, start is included, stop is not. The reason is it's better if I will take this block also. Okay. I want to extract this. JO. And with that, you need to start at 1. If you want to extract JONH, since J is the start, you need to start at 1. Ay, wait. This is the length. I am highlighting the wrong cell. You need to start at 0. Okay, so apologies on that. Again, if you want to start from the beginning, you need to start at 0 because we said that this thing is included. Stop is not included, so you will not stop at 3. Actually, you will stop at the next one, 4. Okay, this is okay. This thing will give you okay. For this to be clear, let me type it so that it will be much clearer. We want to print my name, which will extract JONH. J is the first element, so I will type 0 as a 0 index. And since I want the fourth element, I will stop at 1. See? Do you see that? It gave us chat. So why is this thing happening? So John, what's the logic behind this? Okay, so what's the logic behind this? I only want 4 elements. Why do we need to stop at this? H has the index of 3. So is it more logical to stop at 3? Yes, but the thing in Python is it doesn't work that way. stop is not included, it is exclusive. So you need to adjust one. So actually,
Wouldn't
you
you
need to
stop?
stop at 4.
Wouldn't you stop before, not 5?
Yes, we stop at 5. Oh, oops. We need to stop at 4.
At 4,
And it will give you the
John.
John. Yes. The 5 before, it
Had the
has a
invisible
space.
space
Yes,
after.
you have the invisible space here. So thank you for that, Grace. That clarifies a lot of our discussion. So is that clear that for the stop, you need to adjust one step? Okay. So if you want to include John and Roll, okay, let's say you want to stop until this point. For the stop, you will not stop at the 7th element. You will actually stop at the 8th. Okay. So let's try that. Okay. For the start, it is included. Let's say you just want to start at, and you don't need this first parts. So let's say you are interested on ROL only. So you will start at 5. Okay, you will start at 5 and you will include up to the 8. Okay, does that make sense? Hasiba and Grace, I hope that clarifies a lot of
Yeah.
things. Okay, so what else? That is for multiple slicing of multiple elements. Okay, slicing of multiple elements. So what if let's have another practice. What if I want O up to the N? O up to the N. Okay. So what will happen here? Let me clear this. I want the O, so I will start at 6. I want the N. So the stop is that index and adjusted by 1, so 11. So 6 and then 11. All done. Okay?
What was the other example earlier where it gave you an error message because it didn't have an index of 11?
Yes, it didn't have an index of 11. That is
What was that?
applicable only for if you are trying to access values, single values. And if you will start at that value, let's try starting at 11
It
and let's say
started.
15. We are starting at 11 and 11 is not non-existing here. Also the 15, it is not existing. So it will not give you anything for the slicing. It means that it doesn't exist.
Do you still have it? Can you show what was the example earlier that gave that message? Was it a print length function where you said
Print,
11?
wait, I think this is the thing. 11. If you do this,
Oh,
string
because
is
it's when
out
you're
of
asking it
index.
to print the 11th index and then it said
Yes.
out of range. So it can't do
Actually,
that, but then
you can also, the same result will be returned if you will use my name. And then instead of typing 11 directly, you use the length because the length is also 11, right? The length of my name is 11. So it will give you the same error. So for accessing single values, it will not allow you to access index that is out of range. Okay. But for accessing multiple values, it allows you to start, it allows you to stop, but it will not give you anything.
So in the start stop, can you test it with 9 and 15? And will it still give you 910, or it will give you
Yes.
error message?
It will give you the
9 and
stop. It doesn't matter. If you want to include
okay.
up, if you want to include up until, the trick here is, if you want to include up until the remaining elements, you can just make this number very big if you are not sure of the ending, or just leave it blank like this. And actually, that is the thing that I will share to you. Like this. So Python is intelligent to recognize that we did not specify the stop, meaning we want everything. We want the remaining items to be included. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's cool.
Okay. What else? The same thing is the same thing is where the same thing applies when, let's say, I want to stop at 8. So meaning I will include until the L, right? So let's say 8. Let's say I type it here 8, and I remove the start. So Python will assume that the user or the programmer wants to include everything from the beginning, and we will just stop at 8, or before the 8. Stop before the 8, which is 7. And as you can see, it will just give you the up until the beginning. Okay? So you don't need to tell Python 0, you want to start at 0. If you will just leave it a blank, it will assume that you are starting at the beginning. The same case for the stop. Let's say you included here 3, you want to start at 3, or the third index, the element that has the index of 3. If you run that, H contains the third index or the 3 index. Okay? And it just included everything in your string. So following that logic, what will happen if I remove the start and the stop? What do you think will happen? I didn't specify the start. I didn't
It will
specify the
just
stop.
display the whole thing, the whole
Yes,
name.
exactly. It will just display everything. Okay? Everything makes sense? Nasiba, is that clear? Okay. So, okay. Actually, this start and stop has another part. This indexing, or this slicing rather, has another ingredient to it. And it is called the step. So it looks like this. And it has another element, which is the step. Step specifies what are the things, or if you have specific interval or jumping that you want to happen. Okay. It is applicable, let's say, if you want to include only those records that are even or odd. But at this point, I think you wouldn't visualize it, but let's try to visualize it using the strings. So these points, we will, okay, let me create a simple example here, 0 to 4, so that we will have another example. So these parts, 0 and 4, meaning it included, oops, let me, 0, 1, 2, 3 indices. Indices are included. Makes sense, right? Because there are 4 indices here, and we have 4 elements here. So if we will break this down, like from 0 to 4, I want to see this and we saw this, it makes sense to see 4 numbers here. Why? Because breaking this down, it is equal to this 0, 1, 2, 3. 4 is not included. Okay? If we do it this way, let's say 0 to 7. So the numbers that are included here, or the indices that are included here, are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we want to see how many elements? 7 elements. So when we run that, we can see 7 elements, including the space. Okay. So what if we added another part, which is the step? So let's try it. It's better if I will copy and paste this my name so that we can still see it. Okay, I will just paste it again here, and we will try to apply the stop, or the step part. So suppose I want to extract from this part, JONH space ROLD. So using this pattern, if I want to extract this, we will start at 1 and at 10. The start, I no. We, this index, we will start at 0, we will stop at 9. Okay? So my name 0 to 9. And that should return me John space rolled. Okay? But if I am just interested with this, but alternate. I only want this, and then this, and then this part, the space, and then this part, and then this part. What if the output that I want is JN space OD? How many are the steps? So from J, how many steps do you need? 1, 2. From N, how many steps? 1, 2. From this, 1, 2. So the steps that you need is 2. Okay? So I will recreate this in another line. Okay? Does that make sense? Is that clear? Hasiba and Grace?
Yeah, that makes sense. Sir.
Okay. So how about 3? What if we will replace it by 3? So the output would look like this. Let me remove first the coloring. From J, it will count 1, 2, 3. So we have the H. From H, it will count 1, 2, 3. From O, it will count 1, 2, 3. So let's say we want everything to be considered. So I will replace the stop with empty. So this syntax will assume that it will start at 0. The stop, it will not stop until everything is exhausted, or meaning it will just consider everything. And the step is 3. Okay, JHOA. JHOA. So maybe you are thinking, since we considered up until the first element, can we drop this 0? Yes. Okay. So if you will take a look on this for the first time without knowing what's the purpose of, or what are the things that should be present in this. This will not make any sense. But since we know that this is start, this is stop, and this is a step, it makes sense that if you will not include the start, you want to consider from the beginning of the string. And if you did not if you will not specify what's the end or the stop, it means that you want to consider everything. Okay, all of the elements towards the right, and you want to step 3 starting from the beginning. Okay, I think let's try another example wherein we will not start at the beginning. So let's say I will start at n. I will start at n, and let's say I want to have 2 as the step. So 1, 2, so space is included. 1, 2, this is included. 1, 2, this is included. 1, 2, this is included. That is if you will start at index 2, okay, you will start at index 2 and consider the rest. Okay. So if we do that, print my name 2, consider the rest. So I will just leave it a blank, or if you want to, you can consider adding 11. So meaning you will stop at the 10th or the 10th index, and you want that's the 2 at the step. So it has n, considering the space O B N. Let's see, n the space O B N. What if you don't want to include everything? You just want to stop up to letter D. So in that case, the stop should be 9. So let me change its color. The letter should be the index should be 9. So I will copy this. Let's say you don't want to consider everything. You will just stop at 9. Okay? So the start and the stop, the start and the stepping, we'll just consider this because A and N is outside the range of the 9. It is not included if you will stop at 9. A and N will not be considered. The jumping will just consider starting from 2 and then the rest. Okay. Is everything clear? Okay.
All good.
Oh, good. So maybe you are asking, maybe you are wondering, John, the things that we are using here are positive. This first two, the start and the stop, are positive indices. Can we use negative indices? Of course, we can use that because it is also an index. Okay, let's consider the negative index of 2 on this case. What's the negative counterpart of 2? It is negative 9, right? So I will type here negative 9. We want to start at the element with an index of negative 9. Who is that? This, the same n. Or what if you want to stop at negative 2? So meaning you will consider this. Okay? So it is also possible. So negative 2. That will happen. That is possible. Okay, so for the case of the
So
index,
it's the same. You just have to still read it from left to right when you do start and stop.
yes, yes, exactly.
Cool.
Start, you will start on this, Okay, you will start at -9. You will stop at -2, which includes this part only. So this is like a barrier to stop. What else? So maybe you are also you will also ask me, what if we have a negative step instead? Okay, what if we have that? We still have time, so let's try to explore it. Print my name, and then okay, let's go back to this first. Let me make this black and remove the coloring here. If you have a negative step, that is the time that the jumping will be reversed. Okay.
Oh.
Okay, does that make sense? Okay. So
It will
meaning
skip from right to left.
yes, it will
You're
skip
saying?
from right to left. Exactly.
Oh my god.
So let's say you have a negative step. So if that skips from right to left, it means that you need to start at this side, right? At the right side, towards the left. Okay, let's try to test it. Let's say I will just consider this part. J, O, and H. So if my jumping will start from the right, only one. So it looks like this. Oops. Let's say -1. If my stepping will is -1, it means I am jumping towards the left in the negative way. So if I want to consider this, take a look on what will happen. So we will start at 3. So we will start at 3. And we will, let's say, we will stop at 0. H and O. Why? You
Your
said that,
step was negatives.
yes, you started at 3. So meaning you will start at H. But the step is -1. So meaning it will jump 1 towards the left. So H will be included. And from N, jump again -1. So towards this would be included. But you said that you want to stop at 0. This means 0 is not included because you want to stop at that. So H and O. Somehow it reverses the arrangement, right? So compare that into this. My name 0 or 1, 2, 4. O and H. And this, if you leave it this way, the default is 1. Like it doesn't skip anything. So you can just simply leave it lang or just completely remove that part. So what happens is it will return you the elements of the string from right to left. So somehow reversed. Okay. OHN, but originally it should be ONH. But the logic still follows. Okay. You want to start at 3, and who is that? H is the thing that has 3 as an index. But the jumping is negative. So instead of going to the right, you will go to the left. How many jumps? Only one. So you will include N, you will include O, J is not included because you said you want to stop at 0. But if you want to include also the J, remove the stop. It will include the J.
Can you put negative reference or what is it? Negative index with a negative step?
Yes, yes.
Let's
Let's
do the whole
say
thing.
Yes, the same thing
So
will happen.
let's do
Negative
0 to
8.
10, -1.
0 to 10, -1. Okay, let's break that down.
But then do it again. What is it? 0 to 10? Wait, what did I say?
0 to 10, and then -1.
-1.
So it means that you want to start at 0. So who is that thing? J. But the
Well, let's do
jumping
11.
is okay.
Do 11.
Let's
So
do
this will
11.
spell your name backwards.
Okay, let's see. Let's try to break this down. So you want to start at 0. Okay. You want to start at
Oh,
0.
no,
So
no.
meaning J will be included. However, the step is negative. So it will
It's counting
jump
to
to
the
the left.
left.
Yes.
Oh,
So these things will not be included.
it's
So
not
if you want to
included.
spell your name backwards, you need to start at the end. Right? So N
Yeah, with an index of
jumping
11
yes.
to include the N.
Yes.
11,
Index of
0.
actually 10. This is for the length.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Index of 10
So
because it
10,
includes the start.
yes.
So we don't have to do +1 at the end.
11,
So
and then the stop is if you want to include everything, you
that's
can
not
just
full
leave it
stop.
blank.
Yeah.
And that will print your name on reverse.
Okay, so do the same, but then use the negative indexing.
Index. Okay. So instead of using 10, we will use -1.
-1.
Okay. -1.
Because you can start at the end. Oh, can you just do another row so we can see it compared to each other? Oh, okay, you already did it. There you go. Okay. Print.
Instead of -1, we will use 10 like this.
10
Yes.
to the beginning, -1 versus negative referencing -1.
Okay. So it needs a lot of time to absorb this thing. But as long as you have this somehow cheat sheet of this, including the patterns of how to access single values, how to access multiple values, you're good to go on slicing. As long as you have this, where is that? This part, this, this thing, and I think this cheat sheet, you are good to go for the slicing. Just keep in mind that you can access the elements in positive and negative way of indexing. And the length, it just literally counts.
Oh, you know what this needs? You should have a step key and put 1 arrow right, -1 arrow left. As
This
part of
here,
your Excel. No, well, as part of
on
your
the
Excel
Excel.
key. Because you said you could just you can just keep this as like a reference. So part of this reference, I think, will be to have something about step being positive is reading it left to right, and step
Positive
-1 reads it right to left.
step,
And so you could start
left to right,
essentially with any
negative,
sequence.
right to left. Like this. Oops.
Right. And so basically your indexing doesn't even have to go from smallest to large. Your indexing can even go
Yes,
in
exactly.
reverse, which is what we did.
So you don't need to memorize this, but just keep in mind that you can use positive or negative referencing. on the index. And the length, it has, how can we say this? It is on the different league. I can say that this length is on a different league. It somehow counts the number of the letters, okay? But at at its backbone, it just literally counts how many are the elements of that. So you would see its purpose, the length, you would see its purpose when we go to the containers, because using the length, you can see how many are the contents of these containers without manually counting them. But it's a good thing that you know how to use length to incorporate an indexing. Okay. But remember, always remember that length will just give you how many are the items of your data structure or data type that you have. But this one is applicable only for, on the data types, it is applicable only for strings. Okay. So I hope that that example clarified your confusions on the discussions. This
So
thing,
what you just said there, index position doesn't apply for integers.
yes, it doesn't apply on integers.
It does not. Okay.
Yes,
Just for string.
yes, it is only for string.
Okay. What is today?
Okay,
Wednesday.
so tomorrow we will have additional practices about string slicing. I think we need to have a focus on this. What I will do is I will try to create an activity, easy, average, and difficult, for you to be challenged. And I will take a look
Do we have
on
to
the
submit it
assignments.
into Canvas? We haven't submitted into Canvas, Malon.
But we are not yet submitting anything on the Canvas, but I think there is a practice. There are practices on Canvas, and maybe let's try to consider those practices like this. Lab 22 for the slicing, and what's the other
Yeah,
one?
that one you'll just have to publish that. Okay, so I'll remember
Okay.
Lab 22.
Lab 21 and 22.
Yeah. Well, timing on
Okay.
the. Okay, 22. I'll start 22.
But I will just start it tomorrow. Maybe I will have some editing that I need to do on that activities before I publish it. I will review it first before I publish it, because I think there are some errors on that, or there might some improvements that we need to do on those
Got it.
activities.
Thank
Okay,
you, John.
so thank you everyone. See you tomorrow. I hope you learned something for today's session. Thank you.